Hello everybody, welcome to the video by Lonnie's. This intro will be pretty quick because I don't really have much to say, but this video was inspired by this comment or this user, because I was looking for video ideas and I saw that comment and I was like, oh, I never wrote Osasuna, so let me just give it a try. And just by the way, this is how I see the characters, so our opinions don't have to align. This is how I see the relationship, and honestly, if y'all see some similarities in stuff you like in these videos, just know that they are my inspiration anytime I write anything. So, yeah, I'm not trying to copy them, just heavily inspired. But, yeah, but here it is.
I got to pee. I'm gonna sprinkle all my tinkle in the hoity. Oh, sorry about that.
Practice had just wrapped up. The gym was cooling down, shoes scuffing lightly against the floor, someone somewhere still bouncing a stray volleyball, voices dropping into tired chatter. Osamu sat on the bench with a towel draped around his neck, slow and quiet as he wiped sweat off his forehead. His eyes weren't scanning the court like they usually did. They were locked, unmoving, on Suna. Suna stood by the far end of the court, leaning one shoulder against the wall while Jinjima talked at him. He looked relaxed, half listening, nodding occasionally, hair damp and curling a little at the ends, lips quirking into that lazy smirk Osamu knew way too well. "Why are you looking at him like that?" Atsumu asked, suddenly beside him, dropping down with the kind of graceless thud only a tired setter could manage. Osamu jerked, barely catching himself before the towel dropped from his hands. "Like what?" Atsumu rolled his eyes like it physically pained him. "Like Back to Me by the McGregor projects playing in your head or something." Osamu blinked, and narrowed his eyes. "The hell is that even supposed to mean?" "It means you look like you're having a dramatic ass rom-com moment," Atsumu said, unscrewing his water bottle. "I'm not," Osamu muttered, standing up way too fast to be casual. "You're full of shit." Atsumu said, clearly unconvinced. Osamu shot him a glare and wiped his hands on his shorts, but his eyes flicked back toward the court on instinct. Suna was already looking at him. Osamu froze. Suna held up one finger. "Wait." Osamu's lips twitched before he could stop them, giving a little nod. 5 seconds later, Suna was walking toward them, towel over his shoulder, eyes still on Osamu like he'd been waiting all practice to talk to him. "What's up?" Suna asked when he reached them, voice low and even. "Hey." Without hesitation, Suna dropped his arm around Osamu's shoulders, leaning into his space like he owned it. "Can I come over?" he asked, eyebrows lifting slightly. Osamu didn't even pause. "Yeah." Atsumu snorted. "You come over without asking all the damn time, what's with the manners now?" Both Osamu and Suna turned to look at him, deadpan. "Shut up," they said in unison. Atsumu blinked, clearly not expecting the double-barreled response. "Okay then," he muttered, sitting back down on the bench, pulling out his phone. Suna smirked, smug, and leaned a little heavier into Osamu's side. Osamu wrinkled his nose and shoved at him with one hand. "Get off me, you smell like shit." Suna let out a mock gasp. "I thought you'd love me through it all. This ain't till us do us part," Osamu said, grinning despite himself as he shoved Suna off harder. Suna stumbled a step back, laughing, messy and amused. "That's fucking rude," he said, still smiling. Osamu was still grinning, and Atsumu was still scrolling. The gym lights buzzed softly above them, the sweat drying on their skin, and the whole thing felt too easy. The living room was a mess of throw blankets, half-eaten snacks, and 3 guys draped across the couch like they'd melted into it. The TV cast a soft light on their faces, playing the final moments of the first episode of a K-drama none of them would admit they were actually invested in. "I give it 2 episodes max, before he realizes he's in love with her," Atsumu said, elbow on the armrest, face half buried in a pillow. Osamu snorted, arms crossed. "He just broke into her house technically, so it can't take that long." "This drama's weird," Atsumu muttered. Suna didn't even look at him. "Shut up. It's only the first episode." Atsumu's phone started ringing. Without checking the screen, he groaned dramatically. "Tastefully yours sucks. Then go watch Degrassi." Osamu said, deadpan. Maybe I will. Atsumu grumbled as he stood up, already swiping to answer. What's up, baby? He said into the phone, voice instantly transformed into the most ridiculous flirty tone any of them had ever heard. Osamu rolled his eyes hard. I don't know why he hates K-dramas so much. Suna reached for the remote and paused the screen before the next episode auto-played. 'Cause he ain't seen the right ones. There was a lull. Osamu reached for his water bottle, and Suna was quiet beside him. Then, without looking away from the paused screen, Suna asked. Why don't you FaceTime me anymore? Osamu blinked. Huh? You used to. Suna started. Now you just text me, dryly at that. Osamu made a face. I hate calling people. Suna raised a brow, finally turning to look at him. Are you scared you'll fall deeply in love with me? Osamu scoffed, but there was color creeping into his ears. Maybe you shouldn't say that. Why not? Osamu hesitated, then muttered. I don't think falling in love with you is even an option. Suna tilted his head, scooting just slightly closer on the couch. Why's that? Osamu side-eyed him. Suna didn't back off. Come on. I'm the last person to take offense to anything, just say it. Osamu exhaled through his nose, like he was trying to steady something inside him. You're not exactly a relationship guy. And why's that? Osamu turned fully toward him now, brows raising a bit like he couldn't believe Suna was seriously asking. When you get into a relationship, which is rare, it only lasts, what, like a month? It's complicated. Osamu snorted at that. I was literally with you when you texted your last girlfriend that you loved her and would never hurt her with a straight face and the most monotone voice I've ever heard. Suna opened his mouth, ready to defend himself, but Osamu cut him off. And then the moment you hit send, you turned to me and said, I didn't mean any of that. That shut Suna up. He closed his mouth and looked off to the side, something like shame flickering over his face. So? He said quietly. You wouldn't ever go for a guy like that? Osamu didn't answer immediately. He studied him. He's known Suna too long. All his mannerisms were organized neatly in little folders in Osamu's head. Not 'cause he was obsessed, just observant. The way Suna was biting his bottom lip slightly, cracking the same knuckles he'd cracked a minute ago. Osamu wasn't stupid. He sighed, shifting in his seat. It's something I definitely wouldn't jump into. Suna grinned. That slow, sly grin he did sometimes, the one that made him look like he knew things he wasn't saying. He looked at Osamu with those eyes that were always too steady, too unreadable, just a little too dangerous. Okay. Suna said softly. Then he stood up. I gotta go. Osamu stood too. Already? Yeah. My parents heading out tonight, I gotta babysit my sister. Osamu smiled, real and soft. I miss that kid. Suna rolled his eyes. She misses you too. Won't shut up about you, actually. Without hesitation, he pulled Osamu into a hug, arms wrapped around his waist, easy and familiar. I'll try and swing by tomorrow. He mumbled against Osamu's shoulder. Osamu nodded, hugging him back. Okay. And when Suna stepped away, Osamu was still holding that slight warmth on his skin, like something was just about to start but hadn't quite yet. 2:07 a.m. Osamu Miya had flipped his pillow over 3 separate times in the last 10 minutes. The house was quiet, except for the faint hum of the AC and the occasional creak of old wood settling. His phone was somewhere on the nightstand, untouched, screen down. He was wide awake. Not because of caffeine or nightmares, but because every time he closed his eyes, he saw Suna's face again. That look he gave before leaving. That grin, those eyes, the quiet weight of the hug that still lingered on Osamu's skin. With a groan, he tossed the covers back and padded down the hall in a t-shirt and boxers, rubbing at his face like that had somehow pushed the thoughts out of his head. The door to Atsumu's room was closed. He opened it to see a soft glow of a phone, and Osamu heard his brother's muffled voice. Atsumu was lying on his back in bed, phone held up in both hands above his face. His legs were tangled in a mess of blankets, hair sticking up like he'd been rolling around for hours. The soft glow from his phone screen lit up his tired expression, and judging from the very faint voice coming from the other end, Osamu immediately knew who he was talking to. Damn. Osamu muttered, pushing the door open wider and stepping in. You still on the phone with Sakusa? Atsumu didn't even flinch. This is what you do when you're in love, he said, like it was obvious. He sounded tired, but not irritated. Osamu sat cross-legged on the floor at the foot of his bed, exhaling a breath. You've been talking to him for hours. Uh-huh. Atsumu muttered, squinting at his screen before dropping it on his chest like he was too lazy to keep holding it. Then, with a dramatic sigh, he added. What do you want, Samu? Osamu hesitated, picking at a loose thread on the bottom of his shirt. I think Suna likes me. There was a pause. Okay? Atsumu said. And, from the phone speaker, Sakusa let out a quiet laugh. Osamu looked up, mildly annoyed. What do you mean, okay? I mean, what do you want me to do about that? Atsumu said, turning his head lazily toward him. Throw him a parade? Osamu groaned, rubbing his face. I mean, it's not exactly a good thing. I know that. Osamu said flatly. That got Atsumu to sit up slightly, propped on one elbow. I'm glad you do. He said. He's a terrible boyfriend to everyone he dates. Hardly talks, forgets anniversaries, ghosts them for 3 days for no real reason. He's a nightmare. I know. Osamu muttered again. There was another pause. Atsumu sighed, voice softer now. Look, I wouldn't exactly be the biggest fan of you trying to date that Ashat, but if you like him, which is obvious you do. I never said that. Osamu interrupted, way too fast. You didn't have to say it. I've known for a while Dumbus. Sakusa's quiet voice came through the phone again, something unintelligible but teasing, judging by Atsumu's short glare at the screen. Osamu pulled his knees up to his chest, resting his chin on them. I dunno what to do. Atsumu rolled over to his side, phone slipping slightly against his pillow. Do you want to date him? Osamu stared at the floor, silent. Then. Kinda. Well. Atsumu said with a yawn. Problem solved. Now get out. Osamu blinked. What? You heard me. I'm not about to have a heart-to-heart while I'm trying to have an intimate talk with my boyfriend. Go deal with your own tragic romance. Osamu stood, scoffing. Next time you ask me for advice on your little boyfriend, he said, flicking Atsumu's forehead as he passed. I hope you know the exact words you're gonna hear. Atsumu mumbled a whatever as Osamu closed the door behind him. He wandered back to his room, this time moving a little slower. His head felt both heavier and lighter somehow. He dropped into bed with a sigh, laying flat, eyes on the ceiling. Then his phone buzzed. Sakusa and Osamu private messages. We weren't going to talk about anything gross by the way, I don't know what he was talking about. And I think your brother just didn't want to give you specific advice. YTF. Probably because his brother and his best friend dating is weird for him, but he still wants to see you happy. Not too sure what Suna has done specifically to make him react that way in the first place, but Atsumu is extremely avoidant, hence why he reacted that way. I hate that bitch. He loves you too. I'll talk to him, let him know it's not fair. Thanks, I appreciate you texting me. You're welcome. One more thing. I wasn't originally religious before I met Atsumu, but more and more I realize that God does do things for reasons that I don't know. All I know is that it's always to help you. But when I would see you and Suna interact, I think that he's been put in your life for a positive reason. Hush up before I cry. Lol. Maybe I'm tripping, but something might happen soon, but I don't know. Thanks again for texting me, I really appreciate that. You're my favorite from all of my brother's relationships. Thank you, I think. He set his phone down, thinking he could finally rest easily, only for it to buzz again 5 minutes later. Suna and Osamu private messages. Up? Couldn't sleep. Come outside. Osamu sat up. He stared at that text like it was a question wrapped in an invitation. His heart was pounding, fingers hovering above the screen. Gimme 5 minutes. And then he was up again. Osamu tugged on his old hot Cheetos long sleeve, faded orange print cracking across the chest like it had been through hell. He threw on a pair of grey, oversized sweatpants that hung loose at the waist, slid his feet into his beige Birkenstock clogs without socks, grabbed his phone, and slipped quietly out the front door. The night air hit him like a sigh he'd been holding in all day. Cool and quiet, the kind of air that made your skin feel just a little more raw, a little more real. And there he was. Suna, standing by the Mia mailbox, both hands lazily tracing the top edge of the metal box. When he saw Osamu step out into the soft yellow glow of the porch light, he straightened up like he'd been waiting for this moment longer than the 3 minutes since the text. He smiled as he started walking toward him. Osamu crossed his arms. "What are you doing here?" Suna let out a quiet sigh and shoved both hands in his pockets. "I couldn't sleep either." Then, after a second, he added, softer. "Felt like we left some words unsaid earlier." Osamu squinted at him. "This couldn't wait till tomorrow?" Suna tilted his head, smirking. "You still came outside, didn't you?" He had him there. Osamu didn't answer, just looked off toward the street, jaw tight. Suna nodded his head toward the sidewalk. "Come on, walk with me." Osamu hesitated, then fell into step beside him. "You're not trying to kill me, right?" Suna laughed, an easy, tired sound. "No, not this time." They walked in silence for a few blocks, shoes scuffing softly against the pavement, the neighborhood asleep around them. They passed dark houses, wind chimes barely clinking in the stillness, until they spotted the bench near the corner lot, the one next to the park Osamu and Atsumu used to race to as kids. Without a word, they both sat. It was quiet. Not uncomfortable, but full. Like they were both waiting for the other to say something first. Then Suna said, "I want you to give me a chance." Osamu turned to look at him, brows furrowed. "What?" Suna didn't look away. "Just one." Osamu let out a short laugh, not mean, just confused. "What does that mean, Rin?" "You're not stupid," Suna said, gently. "I know you know that I like you." Osamu looked away this time, biting the inside of his cheek. "Then I'm sure you also know why I don't trust you." "I do." Suna's voice was low, serious in a way Osamu didn't hear often. "But the reason my past relationships went the way they did is because of you." Osamu's head snapped back around. "The fuck did I do?" Suna smiled. "Nothing. Nothing intentionally. It's just." He looked down, thumb grazing a chip in the wood of the bench. "I've always had these weirdly strong feelings for you. And every time I tried to move on with someone else, it wasn't the same. It never felt like it does when I'm alone with you." Osamu didn't say anything. Not at first. His face didn't move, but his fingers curled tighter around the bench. "And I know that's messed up." Suna continued, quieter now. "But that's the only way I knew how to deal with it. I'm not saying it's right, but I wanted to tell you. I'm sorry." Osamu sighed, still not looking at him. "I don't wanna date you, Suna." Suna's breath caught slightly, and Osamu could feel the way his body shifted beside him. "But I really can't help my feelings for you," Osamu said after a pause. Suna blinked. And then he smiled, soft at first, then wide enough that he had to look down to stop himself. "I like you so much, Suna," Osamu said, rubbing a hand over his face. "Even despite how much bullshit I've seen you do to other people. No matter how terrible of a person I know you can be sometimes, I wanna be in a relationship with you." Suna grinned, wide and warm and almost disbelieving. "You're kinda dumb." "Unfortunately," Osamu muttered. Suna leaned in, arms slipping around him, and pulled him into a hug. Osamu let out a half-hearted grunt, but hugged him back. "You better not do anything heinous," Osamu said into his shoulder. "'Cause all I know is that Atsumu isn't playing around." Suna sighed, squeezing him a little tighter. "I wouldn't hurt you." Osamu pulled back, raising one skeptical brow. Suna pressed his lips together in an awkward little smile, caught, but trying to look innocent. "I mean it." Then, without hesitation, he leaned forward and kissed Osamu. The kiss was slow, full of hesitation and want. Not desperate, not clumsy. Just overdue. Like they'd both been orbiting this exact moment for months. Suna's hand found Osamu's jaw, gentle, fingers brushing just under his ear. Osamu let himself sink into it, let himself feel it. The softness, the pull, the tension that finally snapped. But then, Suna tried to slip his tongue in. Osamu immediately shoved him back with one hand and leaned away, rubbing his eyes. "Oh my gosh. You," he muttered, voice rough. "This is a bad idea." Suna blinked at him, breathing a little heavy, hair mussed from where Osamu's fingers had grabbed him. He looked up through his lashes and murmured. "I know," he said. "But it's the only one I've had in years that feels right."